Gotcha Bagoose, hello, I'm an idiot. I forgot to unmute myself. Oops. Oh, hold on. There we go. I also forgot to close the Twitch tab like a moron. You can tell we're off to a good start after about a month off. Oh boy. There's reasons for this. Ay. Yeah, needless to say, it has been about a month. I'm sure nobody was losing any sleep over it, but I do appreciate, thank you Anarchy for saying hi. Anybody else joining us, thank you for coming along and indulging the doofy Dino Man. It has been a month, and it's not been the worst weekend, but it's also not been the best either, and that comes in with the general recap, I guess. But just long story short, and I do prefer to get the lousy news and the dumb news and the bad news out of the way first, and then focus on the more pleasant things. But essentially, the absence was largely due not only to life busyness, but me managing to get myself injured again. It's a random stream that is not a TV. Yeah, I took it on counsel from the Spinosaurus waifu that I should probably try to get in a few streams that are a little bit more at a reasonable hours for our friends across the pond. But a few weeks ago, I succeeded in, after a long stream over these last few years of fighting back some particularly annoying health and physical concerns, annoyingly managed to pile on some more. Hey, snaps. But yeah, long story short, and I have a picture to help. Where's my picture guide? There's my picture guide. I do have a picture to kind of help with the visual aids here, but so long story short, big nutshell condensed down to a small one. About 6 years ago, I had this nerve damage that occurred that kind of left this soreness and tingling in my right index finger, which, yay, I'm right-handed, so that comes in really nice for drawing and whatever. And at the time, I had no idea what was going on, and just pinched nerve stuff, you know. Not fun, but it's either you do physical therapy and figure out how to get over it, or you fork over a ton of money and get surgery. Well, we don't have the money for the surgery, at least not here in the good old US of A, so I muscled through that one, and then a couple years back, some nerve pinching and stuff went on in my neck. That was fun too, but you know, I was working through physical therapy for that. So a few weeks ago, this happened. Let me bring up the picture here. So what ended up happening this time, which kind of put me out of commission for a couple of weeks, was you can see this C6 level of damage. What essentially happened was a new section of nerves got pinched in my neck up in here, and both sides running all the way down into my index and thumbs. You have to imagine that this is here. I'll fix this a little bit because this isn't entirely accurate. Hold up. Hold up. Okay, there's back plates. All right. So just imagine this is on a proper Dino Man. Okay, there we go. So imagine, if you will, just a pinched nerve up here in the shoulder to neck quadrant, right here at the C6, this nice little green section here. And the pain that was already going on in the right hand was now exasperated, but now the same thing was happening on the left. So my index fingers and thumbs on both hands were just in this constant state of pain and general discomfort. And needless to say, that kind of put me off a lot of work, a lot of stuff I wanted to do artistically and creatively for a little hot minute. Not great, not fun. So, yeah, it was kind of learning what lengths I would have to go to add on to the physical therapy, and now basically try to treat both sides because surgery to fix this kind of stuff can run broadly anywhere between $5,000 to sometimes tens of thousands of dollars. And that's not exactly on the agenda right now. I have a comfortable enough flexibility in my budget that I can take me and Mrs. Stegman out for some dinners. I can buy myself a few kaiju nerd items here and there. But obviously we're not laying down $25,000 for random emergency surgery. And even though I do have a decent day job, it is unfortunately garbage when it comes to the healthcare. So this is a new chapter in getting through physical therapy. I'm not particularly happy about it, but it just is what it is. And coupled with that, one of my aunts is going into hospice. She's not expected to be with us much longer, which is sad because it sounds like she'd just beaten a round of cancer, and unfortunately that takes a lot out of you. And sometimes the immune system and your other faculties are just not always up to the challenge of fighting off that kind of stuff. Just new waves of sickness and stuff right after you've gotten over. Kind of like what just happened with Sam Neill. He got over a good round of cancer, but unfortunately pneumonia took him because he had to fight through all the cancer. So it's been a bit of a bummer August, I'm not going to lie, but I do not want to neglect my streams because I appreciate you guys, and it's nice to just try and get the mind off of things. Sorry that you got the nat 1 of the luck dice recently. I appreciate that, man. I really do. I'm a positive little dino man. I very much believe in fighting through and getting back up again after life pushes you down and kicks you in the teeth, but there are definitely days when you're just like, why? Why one more thing to pile on top? But that is unfortunately life. And I can at least happily say that my right hand is in better shape than my left. I can at least do some artwork. I have been doing a little bit of stuff, not as much as I would like, but you can't just go. You can't just shut down and just lose base with everything that you like and that you enjoy, because it just becomes too depressing. So that is why we are going to carry on, and the theme of the day is going to be getting back to some of the art pieces I want to finish for the kaiju cards, and additionally some Christmas related items, because I am, after years in my youth of being a little bit too much of a procrastinator when it comes to getting things ready for Christmas, I actually now take the opposite approach, and I start early and I spread things out over the months leading up to Christmas. And what I do as well is not only just buy things, but I like to make a lot of the stuff that I do as well. So, excuse me. So, part of the agenda for today is actually that I want to, if we have time, because I've got 3 hours scheduled, but that can quickly be eaten up, especially since I'm just sitting here yapping. So I'm going to try and get rolling here quickly, but I do have a few art pieces I want to work on for the sake of leisure, soul edification, and for funsies while we chit-chat about happier things. But on the one bright side, while going through all of this nonsense with the nervous system, to my surprise, was happy that quite a few kaiju pre-orders that I'd made over the last year suddenly rolled in, or things to that degree. So that was kind of fun. So I'll take that. I'll update on that real quick, because I know I've got a few kaiju nerds in here who are also fellow collectors who just, want to see our silly little things. And I got in Titan X, aka Kokai, from the Monarch show. And we're actually, Mrs. Stegman and I have been, well, I've kind of been down and out. We've been just watching more things together at night for our leisure time. And catching up on Season 2 of Monarch was one of them. So I actually am just about done with Season 2. I'll share my thoughts on the show more properly a little later during the art time, but let's just say I like the toy better. But at that, I will also add that I had to touch this up a little bit and customize it, because the regular toy, I don't have a picture for comparison, apologies, but the regular toy, all of the little back appendages here, the little extremities that run along her backside and all this, they were just a really dull blue, which, yeah, at certain points in the show they kind of are, but on the toy it just made it look really boring. So I actually went and bought a little tiny bottle of metallic pink paint and just decided to go ahead and go to town on it and make her look a little bit more, help her stand out a little bit, which is funny because as soon as I did this, as soon as I finished customizing this figure, Playmates announced that they were releasing this Monarch pack of like 4 figures. It was Kong. It was Kong, Titan X, the Ion Dragon, and the Frostvark. They just decided, hey, we'll just repaint them and reissue them. And of course, what does that 4-pack have? It has a version of Kokai with the pink. Because of course they did. But whatever. I don't need any of those other figures. But it's always fun to put your own spin on the figures in your collection and do it. And besides, I think mine's better because mine's in more of a metallic, shiny pink, which is kind of what she is anyway, because she's one of those bioluminescent kaiju, which a lot of them are in the MonsterVerse, come to think of it. Bioluminescent sea creatures have really taken off in modern kaiju. So we got her in. This was probably my favorite because I am an absolute addict and an idiot who I see a translucent Godzilla figure that looks like it'd be a delicious edible gummy, and I just immediately pounce on it like one of my cats does on a furry ball toy. And I love how it's supposed to be. There's a series of these. They come in different colors that are supposed to honor Japanese culture, and various iconic things about Japan. So the other 2 that I had was this silvery blue and white one, which was supposed to evoke Mount Fuji. There was a pink one, which was supposed to evoke sakura flowers in full bloom and all that. And this one is supposed to be matcha tea, which I have never had matcha. I assume it's delicious, but I've just never tried it. But this is just one of my favorite shades of gray. I mean, it's almost the shade of my shirt. Like, you can see that I'm wearing. It is almost exactly like the shirt I regularly wear. So, of course, I had to grab this guy because just look at him. Would be good turned into a nightlight. Oh, for real! Like, get a little LED in there, and just, oh, yes. Don't tempt me, Frodo. But no, I love little translucent kaiju figures. So we got him in. This was a little cheap one from the Goji Burst line. They're just these little kind of mini figures meant mainly for younger collectors, but this is the only time, to my knowledge, and I looked it up because I'm an absolute completionist moron who has to have every single version of every kaiju ever. This is the only version of Eternal Mothra from Rebirth of Mothra that's ever been released. Officially, at least, in toy form, as far as I know. There's like fan-made ones on Etsy, there's that kind of stuff, but as far as I know, this is the only version of Eternal Mothra, which is the form right at the end of the final film in the Mothra trilogy. And then it comes with these cool little pieces you can stick on here to turn it into Armor Mothra. So, that was cool. Grab that one. And last but not least, the big guy himself coming up in Monster Zero. They called this the first look figure for -Zero, and I really have grown to like this design. Like, at first I was all, I don't like it as much as -Zero, but then I just started really looking at it and getting used to it, and I'm just like, yep, I have changed my mind. I really, really, really like this one, because not only do I love the face and the slightly adjusted proportions, though he could be a little chunkier here in the midsection, just saying, I actually really like the designs, kind of like Godzilla 2000, where he just has a huge, spiky dorsal plate just jutting out from the rest of them. That's very much my jam. And you can't really see it in my picture, but he's got a little stegothagomizer kind of spiky star on the end here as well on his tail. So that was all awesome. Made me very happy. Just very cool looking figure. I will be taking this with me like a dumb little kid into the theater in November and hugging him close to my heart while we watch the film, because yes, I am that much of a grown child, but I do not care. And then the last thing, I don't have it, but I pre-ordered it because I am an absolute, like I said, I am an addict, and I'm also a bit of a hypocrite. So they are releasing, the company CCP is releasing these little figures of what I guess the fans generally call Void Ghidorah, the one from the final film of the Netflix anime trilogy. And the reason I say that I'm a hypocrite is that, yes, on the one hand, my whole thing is I want every single version of every kaiju in toy form. That's just my thing. I love the collecting side. I love having these things in 3 dimensions. The reason I'm a little bit of a hypocrite, though, is because if, like, my friends know this, and I've probably said this on stream before, but believe it or not, The Planet Eater, this particular film, is my least favorite Godzilla movie ever. I really have problems with this movie. I don't absolutely hate it. I don't hate any Godzilla film. That's not a thing, but I have the most problems with this one, and it's one of the most unpleasant to watch when I go back and rewatch it. But there are good points, and honestly, it is still just kind of funny. In that case, you'll be happy with the one I got for you tomorrow. What the frick? Shively, what did you do? You don't have to get me things. I promise it's not necessary, but thank you. Just because I'm suffering doesn't mean you have to buy me shit. But thank you. But no, just as silly as it is, and as much of a hypocrite as I am, because I know, like I said, I don't like this movie very much, I do find it honestly kind of hilarious and funny that they did make figures of this version when it's literally just, like, this part here is just a ball. It's a black plastic ball that's supposed to represent the black hole void that the necks all come out of. So I just kind of love the idea that they released this figure, which is just a neck with a black ball on the other end. It's kind of amazing and silly, but honestly, it's Ghidorah, and it's like the one version of the character I don't have, because obviously they never released this figure in this way before. So it's whatever. But that won't be coming out until 2027 at some point. So alright, there's all my dumb merch junk. The art side of things for tonight, if we have time, I mainly just want to yap about life, and saw some movies, got to spend some time doing some fun stuff. We'll yap about that while I want to try and finish this Raphael picture that I started like eons ago and never got around to finishing. One of the Godzilla cards that I would like to finish, the Destroy All Monsters Rodan picture. I'd like to get that colored up, or at least started colored up. And then the other one is a Christmas present, actually, because like I said, one of my big things this year has been, because if you know me, what I usually do for, like, we don't have the budget to get presents for everybody that I know, but for those people who are on my list and who I do feel obligated and very happily obligated to want to get stuff for because I love them. I usually make a tradition of buying two things, or getting two things. One is maybe like a purchased gift of something that they might enjoy, whether it's a movie or a figure for my friends, or like chocolates. My dad really likes chocolates. And then I'll usually get one thing for them that's homemade, that's privately made. And this is actually, and you don't have to worry about anybody being spoiled, because anything I would show on stream is because it's going to be for people who I know don't watch my stream. Like, I love my family, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love my family, but most of them are more boomer coded, and they wouldn't usually waste their time or spend their time watching YouTube or Twitch streams or stuff of that nature. So this is a bookmark I am going to make for my older brother, who is the one who got me into art in the first place, and got me into art, got me into a lot of the things I enjoy, like Ninja Turtles and comic books and whatnot. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to color up the bookmark. I will then print it out and then laminate it and give it to him as a gift. And obviously, other than man hours, it's a very cheap and efficient way to give something that's a little bit more personal, you know. And I do like to give my older brother artwork whenever I can, something that's a little significant to him, because he introduced me to a lot of things that I really enjoy in fandoms, and a lot of that was expressed through artwork. Because I remember a few Christmases ago, I gave him a picture of the Silver Surfer. He loves the Silver Surfer and kind of made me fall in love with the Surfers comics and stuff as well. Ninja Turtles, like I said, a lot of nerdy fandom stuff, and he used to hang his own artwork in his bedroom, and I loved looking at his work, man. Like, he had a picture of the 1989 Keaton Batman that he did in pencil that I wish I knew what happened to it, because I would actually ask him for it if I could. I don't know if it's gone. I don't know if he boxed it away somewhere and it's just in an attic. No idea, but I would love to have that piece. But either way, you can blame and or thank him, however you want to look at it, for the development of my art obsession. So, yeah. So, that being the case, I just like to occasionally re-gift a little bit of artwork back to the man, just to remind him, hey, you know what? This is technically your fault. I am okay with that, and please enjoy some more random pictures. No, it's not cheap. It's it's meaningful. At least that's how I choose to look at it. Okay, I am on a very different brush than I usually do. What did I do? Brush pen, thick pen, watercolor. I must have switched while I was doing some other stuff. Texture density. Pardon me while I no, that is not it. Refamiliarize myself a little bit here with Clip Studio, because it has been a hot minute since I've done anything substantial in here. Again, thank you, Random Pain. But we persevere, because we must. I mean, you do have to take care of yourself, and you have to make appropriate choices. Because sometimes, yeah, you're not going to be in the shape you should be to just get back into the hobbies or the activities that you love. And it sucks, but you gotta take care of yourself at the same time. Which, unfortunately, does just sometimes mean you have to step back a little bit. And actually, now that I look at this, I do want to fix a few lines. That is the nice thing about digital artwork. I cannot deny is sometimes you get the advantage of being able to make a few corrections. Is this what I'm looking for? Density of paint. Amount of paint. That looks a little better. Yep, there we go. That's more what I was looking for. So I'm actually going to make some anatomy corrections here, because you shouldn't just feel obligated to stick with something because you've already committed to the page, like put it on the page. You should allow yourself the opportunity to make some corrections. And sometimes when you step back and you take a look at what you've made, you realize, yeah, use some touch-up. And that's nothing new to the digital age. I mean, the great eras of the painters and the Renaissance masters, they knew how to make corrections. You'd never know it now looking at their work, but they knew when they needed to touch up some stuff. They just, they knew how to mask it. But don't half-ass it. Don't feel free to. You got to make yourself happy first and foremost. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to make a few corrections because I want to be happy with my work and not just settle for my own mediocrity here. So I'm going to fix up a little bit and just go from there. But like I said, the majority of the new pain is actually on the left-hand side of my body, which I am genuinely grateful for, because thankfully working at a tablet, and if you're careful, working with pen and paper, isn't that necessarily that stressful or that painful. So you can kind of get by a little bit better. But yeah, if my right hand was feeling the way that my left is right at the moment, I would not be doing this. Because it done hurt. It is distractamundo. If it wasn't for the glorious invention of ibuprofen and a fun little brand of rub-on cream called Biofreeze, that edge would not be taken off anywhere near satisfactorily enough for me to do a lot of things in my day-to-day right now. Because I am spending about a little over an hour a day in physical therapy. And that doesn't sound like much until you're doing it. Because then you're just doing all these painful positions and exercises over and over again, day after day, for an hour. And your body just starts to absolutely hate you for it. So, needless to say, I'm actually just grateful to have the opportunity to just kind of take my mind off of it and get back to doing this. In other news, however, it has been long enough that since we've been together here that I've actually been able to go out and do a few things, have some fun with a few things. Took Mrs. Stegman out to go see Spider-Man. Thankfully, a couple weeks after the... let's sample that a little bit. Thankfully, a couple of weeks after the main wave, shall we say, had died down. Because, my gosh, quite the popular little movie, huh? And last I even... I do kind of keep up with box office on franchises that I like. And I've always liked Spidey. Like, he's America's superhero, and I'm sorry, Superman fans. Superman's awesome. He's an American institution, but Spider-Man really is America's superhero. He's America's boy. He's relatable. He's extremely sympathetic. And he's just the people's champion. And that is proven by the box office almost every single time. Too true. Yeah, he is our boy. Like, again, I have all respect for the Kryptonian, and I have been a lifelong Batman fan as well. But I mean, I'm still collecting Batman comics, not modern ones, but I'm collecting all the ones I need to catch up on, the previous 90-ish years of history, almost 90 years of history. But Spidey just is that feel-good, relatable thing. And we went, and it was a pretty good film. Like, I'm not gonna say it was my favorite, because I think there's a lot of... just even within Spider-Man movies, there's a lot of competition for which one you'd call the best, and which one really has made the most impact. But it was very solid. I really did enjoy it. I won't spoil it, just in the event that there's anyone who watches this or is watching currently that hasn't seen it. I recommend Moz. It's a fun take on Superman as a whole, and you'll find a lot of anime references as well as DC references. Moz, My Adventures with Superman. Okay, I was actually going to ask because I haven't watched My Adventures, but I know that Mrs. Stegman has with her friends, and she seems to enjoy it and generally gives it a good endorsement. But I won't spoil Brand New Day, but there are two things that primarily kind of got in my craw a little bit, and they're not big things. I mean, it's not going to ruin my enjoyment of the movie, because I'm not that picky. Like, yes, I am picky. I will fully admit I am picky, but I'm not super annoyingly picky. But I didn't like some of the choices that they did make with the writing on, let's just say, the main antagonist of the film. There were some choices made there that I didn't feel were true to the character. And I'll make a caveat. I don't know every version. Like, I don't know Ultimates comics. I don't know if there are other precedented reasons why they would choose to go some of the directions they did with the primary antagonist in Brand New Day. And I do sympathize with some of the choices, but I don't agree with a lot of the choices, because it didn't feel right. It didn't feel correct for that person. Not to mention, I was just kind of hoping that... okay. At least it's not like the Marvel comic writers, from what I've heard. At least it's not like the Marvel comic writers, from what I've heard. Sorry, I'm confused, only because I am very dumb. It's not like the Marvel comic writers, from what I've heard. So, like, you mean it hasn't been like what a lot of the recent Marvel writing has been, or not the same? That portrayal of that character is not the same as what's generally been done. I'm sorry. My brain is befuddled because of the last couple of weeks. So you'll need to hold my hand a little bit on that one. But I was also just kind of... It was in the trailer, so I'll at least say this much. Regarding what's happening to Peter, one of my favorite arcs in the old cartoon, the 94 cartoon, was when Spider-Man was kind of having a mutation, more so where the writers have made him suffer more than necessary. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, he is kind of life's whipping boy on purpose, which is why we do kind of love him, but you can definitely take that a little far, depending. But that being said, I was actually kind of hoping they would go a little farther with the mutation aspect, because I really loved that storyline in the old cartoon when the Punisher and other characters had to get involved to help Spider-Man through his mutating genes. That was a bunch of episodes I really liked. It was scary, it was really cool, and they didn't go very far with it in this movie, but all that means potentially is that they're saving it for a sequel, because you know that they knew that this was going to make a ton of money and that they'd have all the wiggle room they needed to make a follow-up. So my guess, honestly, is that they probably just were setting it up and decided to move forward with more of that plot in the follow-up. Even if it was just a nightmare, I would have loved to see more arms growing and, hello, War of the Worlds. Thank you for joining me. I am very grateful for you. And yes, I mean, I say this half jokingly, but screw them kids. Let the youngins be scared. let the child Spider-Man audience feel the same way I did back in the day, watching poor Peter going through his man-spider transformation, just being like, whoa, Mom, what's happening? Why is Peter, Like, let them go through the same pain I did, which, ultimately has its reward, and Peter comes out better on the other side of it. But it still would have been awesome to see, and again, maybe they will. Maybe that is the long-term plan, and I hope that they do go through with it, because especially, they're introducing new X-Men and doing all that stuff. So why not take full advantage of the Man-Spider story? That's all. I think they would be cowardly not to do so. I think it would be a bold move, because at this point, Spider-Man on screen has done a lot. They've done a ton that, while he's still a fun character to follow, if you want to keep it fresh in the film franchise, by all means, go that route. Let the audience see the horror of that aspect of his life. And that'd be a good excuse to bring Bernthal back as the Punisher, because now he has to hunt down and help his buddy who's going through this trauma and this crisis of transformation and all that stuff. So, that's all. It's not a huge complaint. I still very much enjoyed the movie. Very, very much. But the main antagonist had a few problems with that. Movie was a little crowded. I think I would have said keep Punisher, maybe lose the Hulk. But that's just me. But, yeah. Not the end of the world. I did enjoy it a lot. But that's just my 2 cents. And I know my feelings aren't unique. I know a lot of people have kind of complained about the antagonist as well, just because of what it kind of means for some of the future Marvel movies coming up. Because it kind of paints certain characters in a bit of a negative light. Makes them a little less sympathetic. Maybe. Hard to say. Depends on where they go with stuff, but regardless, good time. Spider-Man fighting the hand was... I realize as I'm coloring a Ninja Turtle fighting the foot, yes, it was very enjoyable seeing Spider-Man fighting the hand live on screen. And a very good-looking version of the hand, I might add, too, with the nice red uniforms and the really, really cool headbands. I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff, so... Good stuff. Overall, good stuff. Probably going to be taking Grandpa Stegman to see it as well, because I know he wants to go see Brand New Day at some point, and he doesn't always get a lot of time to go out to movies these days, so I think he's plotting and scheming to take us out for a little father-son's dinner date and go see how he likes the movie. I thought it was fine, wasn't bad, but it felt more like an in-between movie than a solid spider adventure. Honestly, I agree. It did feel kind of like it's the first chapter in a new saga for this MCU Spider-Man, kind of. That's how they've sort of set it up and advertised it. But you're absolutely right. It feels a lot like an in-betweener or a setup movie, and it was a long setup movie. So yeah, that does kind of make it a little frustrating, but I guess thankfully it was good enough that it didn't leave me completely unsatisfied in that regard. I was like, yeah, alright, this is doing a lot of setup. It's a backdoor sequel or backdoor setup for another movie that's coming out soon, obviously, particularly because of the main antagonist. It's very busy. I'm glad that they did focus on Peter as much as they did, considering how busy it was. But yeah, it was a very busy film, and definitely felt like a last time on Spider-Man kind of a thing, which can be good, and it can also be annoying. So I'm just glad that they did what they did as well as they did, I guess. So yeah, there was Spidey. And oh boy, going out to movies these days. There's a reason that Mrs. Stegman and I don't do it all the time, because minimum of, I want to say minimum $75, $80 dates between the movie and going out for we do love, as the legendary Australian man once said, a succulent Chinese meal. Just going out for some good Chinese and movie, and the travel distance with the gas and everything, the petrol. A little bit of an expensive prospect, so that's why we're very choosy nowadays, as are a lot of people. But yeah, good time. Still had. But I mentioned that she and I were working our way through some TV, some private entertainment time here while I've been kind of recovering and doing this new phase of my therapy. And we have what we call the exchange. I'll get in an episode of something I like, and then she'll get in an equivalent amount of watch time, whether it's 1 or 2 episodes of something she likes. Excuse me. And so right now the exchange program, as I like to call it, is Monarch Season 2, because I'm always behind on Monarch, no matter what year it releases. Though I will say we're doing a lot better than we did on Season 1, because it took us something like, I want to say it took us like a year and a half to get through Monarch Season 1, because we were just watching it so sporadically, and my interest was not strong on that first season, man. Like, it struggled to keep me invested. So, yeah, it took a hot minute. We're doing a lot better this time. Like, we've been doing an episode a night over the last week. So, actually, just a few episodes away from being done with the season. And overall, I will say I like Season 2 better. But Monarch really suffers from some problems. And I was talking to a friend online about this last night. The show, I know that they need a certain number of episodes just to have content on Apple TV, whatever contracts that they have, where it's like, okay, you're going to have a season of a show, needs to be this number of episodes long, needs to be this, the episodes probably need to be this number of episodes in length, etc., etc. Like, I know there's probably requirements. The problem is, Monarch has never done a good job of justifying the fact that the seasons are 10 episodes long and usually run 45 to 50 minutes in length an episode. I got some thoughts on Monarch. Overall, I like the past stuff, but not so much the present stuff. I feel like they stretch out the show too much, and they end up doing a whole lot of nothing while waiting for monsters to show up. Dude, you just saved me about 15 minutes of ranting, because that is exactly... that is it, in a nutshell. That is it. Completely. Just, I love the stuff, well, for the most part, I love the stuff between Keiko, Shaw, and Billy Randa. I like the stuff in the past. I do, of course, I like Kurt Russell. Duh. I'm not going to not like Snake Plissken being in my Monsterverse, but they work so hard to make the modern characters so unlikable. And they've been making me struggle on the on the 50s trio as well with the last few episodes I watched also. Because, Mrs. Stegman and I had some thoughts about some choices they made in the last few episodes as far as certain fidelities were, shall we say. But, my gosh, just... the show... I will abbreviate this as much as possible so I don't spend a half hour ranting about it. Sometimes you can tell when a show has been written by California people who clearly struggled without father figures or good mother figures in their lives. And Monarch really struggles with that. It's like you feel like you're watching a trauma dump therapy session from people who really, really have a hard time maintaining strong relationships, and almost getting to the point, unless they say something different in one of the upcoming final episodes of the season here, really struggling with the idea of endorsing monogamy. Like, it got to the point with one particular character where I felt like the message was just essentially, you can't blame me for not being able to keep it in my pants because that's just nature, baby. And I'm just like, yeah, no. As a stegosaur man who has been happily married to a spinosaur lady for 16 years and very, very proud of the fact that we have been through a lot of ups and downs and never betrayed each other. Holy crap, man. Just some of the things they do in Monarch just really test your patience when you believe in honoring your spouse and being the strongest and most honorable person you can be in a relationship. But all that aside, like, no matter what your feelings or how much you care about that soap opera business, it suffers from, like War of the Worlds said, it struggles so much with, we need to drag this out as much as possible between all the soap opera and until we get to those little snippets of kaiju action that we can actually afford, because I'm going to take a guess that the kaiju budget on this show is pretty abysmal. Because season 1 had maybe 2 minutes of Godzilla himself total. The Ion Dragon maybe showed up for about the same amount of time. The Frostvark was interesting, but it only had a few minutes of screen time as well. And I don't need, I'm not one of these guys who's like, I want a monster movie that's nothing but kaiju and that's all there is, there's no people. I'm not one of those. You gotta have at least a little bit of your human interest story in there to ground all of the kaiju action. I get that. And I do like Shaw and Randa and Keiko. I do like them a lot. It is fun to have a lot of the young Randa stuff to kind of flesh out his story from Skull Island. It really is. But they make you work for it, man. For so little payoff. And I just have to believe it just comes down to budget. It's just like, well, we can afford 2 minutes of Godzilla a season, and that's about it. Especially if we're going to have other kaiju in the mix. Because I do like this season. I like Kokai, Titan X. I do like her little scarab things. I like them trying to expand a little bit on Apex and what a dickwad organization they are, leading up to them making Mechagodzilla. Yeah, some of that stuff is genuinely interesting. And some characters have even had some good growth and are far less insufferable than I thought they were from season 1. But, man, they really make you... It's a struggle. It is a super struggle sometimes to get behind some of the characters and some of their choices on this show. So that's all. I promise that is the end of my rant on Monarch, at least the negative rant. But at least we're getting through it a lot quicker, because like I said, the first season we struggled on it so hard that it took us about a solid year and a half. And I wish that I was as innocent and unpicky as my dear mentally challenged younger brother. He doesn't really care. He just watches stuff and he enjoys it on a very base level. Yeah, it's not about having enough kaiju fights, it's about not having enough interesting stuff in between, and you're right, these characters tend to come off as unlikable. Yeah, because a good friend of mine, Sonic All the Way, he's usually in here, he was talking about it in comparison to -1. And, like, -1 has a lot of gap in between the kaiju action. A lot of it. And it's good. It's good gap, because not only are the human characters extremely interesting and have good character arcs and character growth, because Shikishima doesn't start -1 as a likable character, necessarily. He starts as a broken man who is getting his life back together and going through a genuine emotional PTSD-ridden struggle, and you are satisfied by the end to see his transformation into a better person. And it always comes down to what a wise man once told me. If you want to understand the meaning of life, no matter what ideological, religious, non-religious, whatever perspective you come from, the meaning of life is centered around the word relationship. Because without learning how to be our best selves, without learning how to improve ourselves and be the best we can be, and to nurture good relationships in life, it's just all nothing. It's just a struggle. It is an absolute painful, miserable, lonely struggle. And I'm not talking like necessarily romantic relationships, like anything quality, and learning to be your best self and to try to make the lives of other people better, even in just simple, little, meaningful ways. That's the essence of what -1's story was, and why it was so significant. It was showing a broken man who nurtured relationships, became an integral part of their lives. They became an integral part of his. They helped each other to grow, to be better, to be safer, to find love where there was hopelessness and abandonment. And you were so invested in all of that that you forgot sometimes, like, oh yeah, it's been about 20 minutes since we've had anything with Godzilla in it. And then when that stuff did happen, it was all the more satisfying. That's the antithesis problem that Monarch has. It's me looking at my watch a lot of the time going, boy, I cannot wait for the kaiju to come back because I'm just sick and tired of the soap opera. Agreed. -1 had great characters and character growth. One time of that, even the technical stuff is interesting, like finding a way to lure, trap, stop him, getting a crew together, willing to take the risk, finding and working on the plan. It's all good. Yes, exactly. And that's why I love Yamazaki's writing so much, because he has always been so character driven and so focused on how the plot supports itself and reinforces the ultimate goal of expressing that. Like, his Always films are masterpieces in exploring the interdependent need for each other and for building each other up. And I knew he was going to carry that into -1 when they announced him, and I was so happy about that, because that's the essence of his Always films, is just how does one miserable man find greater meaning in life? Well, it's being less self-centered and embracing what he desires most, while also being as selfless as possible. Like that difficult balance that we all face in life of how much do we strive for the things that we want the most versus giving up and balancing the things we want the most for the sake of other people. It's good stuff, it's timeless stuff, it's interesting stuff. And that's what Yamazaki has always excelled at in his movies, at least the ones I've seen. I can't pretend I've seen his entire library, and it's actually been so many years since I've seen his very Matrixy movie, The Returner, that I can't remember if that holds true in that one as well. But either way, just that's -1 is now kind of the gold bar by which all future Godzilla films are going to kind of be held up to as far as character development and balancing the kaiju human element, including his own sequel, honestly. I mean, -0 is inevitably going to get comparisons to -1, and depending on how well Yamazaki does, which I'm confident he'll do a good job balancing out his own characters and delivering a very satisfactory follow-up. I wish it was going to be a trilogy, damn it. I wish they hadn't settled on a 2-movie thing, but that's his choice. That is his decision, and I will respect it. But man, I would have killed in Minecraft. I would have killed in Minecraft for a trilogy out of the Minus universe. That would have been amazeballs. C'est la vie. It is what it is, but that would have been amazing. That would have been awesome. So, yeah. So we're making it through Monarch. We've got like 3 episodes left, which I'm fairly confident, from what I understand, will at least crank up a little bit of the kaiju action to make up for all the stuff leading up to it, at least the worst of the stuff leading up to it. There has been some good human stuff in this season. I won't lie. There has been, but I've gone through 7 episodes of minimal kaiju stuff. It's time for the payoff, man. It's time for the payoff. So that's my side of the equation. My wife's side is that she's been taking me through her favorite comedy, New Girl, which on my own, New Girl isn't necessarily the kind of show that I would have gravitated toward, but I can't deny it's been enjoyable. It's been fun. It's got some fun characters, a lot of whom definitely make some life choices I wouldn't recommend, but I'm led to believe that that's part of the point. They have character growth and arcs of their own. So I will trust her. I will take her word on that. And just like I said, it's been fun. But New Girl is something like 7 seasons long, and we're almost done with Monarch. So I'm gonna have to come up with a alternative for my half of the exchange program here shortly once we wrap up with that. Because I actually don't watch a ton of television. Like, believe it or not, the most episodic stuff I tend to watch is actually just old episodes of Super Sentai or other kind of episodic older things while I do exercises. It's just kind of what I tend to find more fun for the most part. So actually haven't made a lot of time for TV, and I'm not all that broken up about it either. I just don't feel like I've really missed much. At least what people have told me. I'm sure there's some great stuff out there, especially if you're fans of different genres or whatever, but for the most part I'm good. I'm okay with being very choosy these days, at least for things that are outside of my fandoms. Because obviously I'm going to watch things that are part of my fandoms. We all do that. It's like, yeah, I may not watch whatever the new hit show is on Netflix, but, you know, we'll watch the new Gamera TV show or Pacific Rim or something if it's because it's one of our kaiju-related fandoms or something like that. Fandom priority in your viewing kind of stuff. I kind of have fandom priority. Anything outside of that is sort of a, well, if the missus really, really wants to watch it, or I've just heard it's so good, like you just can't miss it kind of a thing. Because actually, I keep, every time I come back on stream, I keep telling you guys that I'm going to watch the new Human Vapor on Netflix, because It's a classic Toho film. It's one of my favorite classic Toho films. Like, one of my favorite Toho things, period, outside of the Godzilla franchise. So the idea that they actually remade it in the big 2026 kind of threw me for a loop, and I keep telling myself I'm going to watch it, but I am also a very easily distracted doofus, and as previously mentioned, other things have been going on, so haven't made that a priority. But I'll get around to it. I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. But, I was saying earlier, I do wish sometimes that I had my brother's innocence. Just given the fact that he is, he's very severely. Oh wow. Okay, it doesn't like that. My selector tool is kind of fighting me a little bit. Okay, screw the selector. I'll just go with a shade. Given the fact that he is so very autistic, like legitimately severely autistic, one kind of funny benefit he has to that is just he doesn't fuss about fandom related things as much as I do, which, good for him. I started watching a collection of episodes from a show called The Classic Ghosts, a TV show of the 70s, aired on ABC that was lost, but they restored it and put on Blu-ray. Interesting. Not amazing, but I find them entertaining in cheesy gothic ways. Susan Sarandon was in an episode. Okay, so it's fictional. I was going to ask, so was it a fictional... Was it a fiction show, or was it like a old kind of urban legends, ghost hunty kind of a show? But kind of answers my question. If it's got Sarandon in it, that would suggest it was a episodic fiction. But sometimes it's just really fun to treasure hunt and to find old stuff that you never heard of that falls in line somewhere with your interests, and even though it's a lot older, it's just like, hidden gem. Glad I found it. Really cool. Love to see it. But my brother is just sometimes, I guess you could almost say blithe sometimes. He doesn't take things very seriously when it comes to his entertainment. So he just enjoys things a little bit more pure than I probably do, because I'm going to be more critical. I'm going to analyze stuff as a fanboy, or I'm going to maybe be annoyed by sometimes what modern writing or writers or certain cultural factors might squeeze into a franchise I like and take something a little bit away from it. I don't know. There's always those things you kind of have as you get older and you really, really like a franchise. But so one of his Christmas presents this year, and again, he won't know because I don't think he even knows what Twitch is. Actually, I'm getting him a Blu-ray set of both seasons of Monarch, and I hope he enjoys them, because he will definitely just take it a lot more at face value and enjoy them for what it is, rather than overanalyzing the plot and the characters. And I know some of you out there are going to be like, wait a minute, what do you mean you're getting it for him on Blu-ray? Show's not on Blu-ray. To which I will say, that is correct. So yeah, I hope he enjoys it. There are ways. Oh, thank you, War. I appreciate you. I know I am far from entertaining enough, and I know I do not have the usual VTuber assets, shall we call it, but just appreciate you very much. If anything, it encourages me to try and be as regular at this as possible, so thank you so much. I appreciate it. Excuse me. You got me choked up, dang it. Or I just need some water. But, yeah. Lost my train of thought. It's a good way to lose a train of thought, but my brain is blasted. I do not remember at all what I was talking about. Oh yeah, Monarch. Yep. My little brother can be a bit of a challenge to get stuff for Christmas. just because he tends to be a little... You ever get that sibling? You ever had that sibling who kind of got a little pampered? I mean, I don't blame him. He, like I said, severely mentally challenged. He deserves a little bit of consideration. There's nothing wrong with pampering a little bit in that regard. But unfortunately, the flip side of that is sometimes he's not always the most grateful. Like, he's not the most outwardly grateful. Like, doesn't always thank you the most explicitly for things like most people would at Christmas. Like, oh man, thanks, man. Whatever. Just he'll kind of look at what you gave him and be like, all right, cool. And then throw it on the pile and just dive right into the next thing. Just had a thought, Rand. Did you see that Twitch has auto-enabled AI training, and every Twitch profile would need to go into security and privacy on your profile? Not tech channel, turn off if you have not done so already. Oh, so you're saying some sneaky, nasty little bots trying to might potentially be trying to rip my art off a little bit here, even as I speak. Yeah, I appreciate the heads up. I will definitely need to look into that because, admittedly, I am not the most tech savvy in the world. I do not recall if Mrs. Stegman already told me about that and worked on it in the settings or not, because she is way better at streaming stuff than I am. So I'm actually not sure, and I will need to look into that. So thank you. Because, yeah, there's been some stuff shown a little bit lately about, because, you know, there's that side of the argument where people are like, oh, stop worrying about your artwork, AI doesn't steal artwork, blah, 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 blah. Well, there's some people who showed A-B comparisons of where AI completely, very obviously ripped off certain characters and poses and just very blatant elements of something that they had handmade, and like there was nothing else for it. It was pretty close to 1-to-1, and people were like, yeah, no, it's stealing my stuff. So I do appreciate that, because I embrace the fact that I am a simple mediocrity in the world of artwork, but that doesn't mean I don't put my heart into it and don't love doing it very, very much. Let's see. Yeah, let's get these foot boys done again. Funny enough, during the downtime, when the pain was fresh and was kind of trying to take it easy on my hand, believe it or not, one of the things I actually chose to do with that time was get a little bit back more into writing. I know you're gonna be like, wait, what? Like, yes, because thankfully we live in an age when writing things in a Word document isn't strictly a matter of using both hands on a keyboard. You can compile written documentation through other means, and like I said, at least my right hand is still in better shape. So actually, it's been very, very cathartic getting back into just written writing again, because I have other stories and other material I've always wanted to get back to working on and preparing for eventual release. Not everything I do is strictly comic art, visual based. Sometimes it's just really nice to just dive back into a form of expression that you haven't done in a hot minute. Like, for real. You sit back after a few hours, you look and realize, I've made 4 pages. Holy crap. That feels nice. It's just good ass feeling. And that you did it too. You could sit there, you could challenge your brain, even if it's a rough draft, you could challenge your brain and be like, I made this. I'm very proud that I made this. This is good shit. You know? It was nice. Made me feel good again. This Especially now that I've got new glasses again. I keep forgetting to add glasses to my model. I need to do that. Get some Dino glasses going. Like some big exaggerated versions of the UV glasses that I bought for myself. I should do that. Before next stream, I need to remember to add some glasses assets to my model. But, yeah. That's awesome. I also happen to be getting back into writing. What kind of things you write? Awesome. See? The classic arts never die. Because ultimately they're the most soul satisfying. I'll throw the question back at you as well. What are you currently engaged in with your writing time? But as for me, the main thing I'm been trying to get back off the ground for a long time is, because I'm trying to do it in two forms, a written version and a graphic novel version, because I want to do both, because it's fun to do both. But a fantasy novel about just an alternate world, no humans, just it's very, I'll be straightforward and honest, it's very, very much inspired and influenced by the classic short book and movie Enemy Mine, the old Dennis Quaid movie. I love that film. It's not a rip-off. It heavily inspired the movie. I wish I was making a movie. It heavily inspired the novel and the graphic novel production, because I just really, really love the old trope of people who absolutely hate each other's guts, especially between cultures and species and all of that stuff, who are at war with each other, basically being forced to deal with each other and find common ground, and in some cases brotherhood or sisterhood in the case of my book. So it's been a lot of fun to get into. It's been a lot of fun to build lore and to work on the world and develop personalities and just all the little touches that go into it, because you can't just do surface level stuff. You have to think about it as real world as possible. And it's been an absolute delight to just think of little things from life that you're like, you know what? Just slightly adjusted and changed up, that would make a great little something to include in the book in a different context. Because that's ultimately what fantasy and other world kind of writing is at the end of the day. It is taking things that you know, that you are familiar with, recontextualizing them in a fun, kind of foreign, exotic, or alien way, and hopefully making it interesting and entertaining enough that people will really get on board with it. And that's what I've been doing. And it's been delightful, but I've been working on this story for years at this point. I abandoned the first draft of a graphic novel of it because I just was not happy with it. And sometimes that's what you have to do. You have to give up, do a strategic retreat for the time being if you are not satisfied with what you're doing. Because if you are not happy with it, no one's going to be happy with it. And even if you are, like, I know some people will argue, but sometimes you're your worst critic and you need to just, you need to embrace what you've done and not be too picky. Yes, I agree to a point. You need to get out of your own way sometimes, and you need to allow yourself the privilege of understanding that not everybody in the world is going to be as hard on your work as you will be. Because as an artist, as a writer, 9 times out of 10, you are your own worst critic. You are the person who's going to get in your own way and be a roadblock worse than any legitimate critic, online troll or critic, or just person that you might run into who's, might discourage you a little bit. At the end of the day, you are going to be your own worst enemy. And that's why you have to find that balance between is it worth agonizing about X, Y, and Z? Or do I just want to be happy with this and embrace the fact that probably, more than likely, most people are not going to have as much of a problem with this part or this part of the nature of my story as I am. That sounds very interesting. I got various stories in various states of completion. That's very normal for a creative spirit. You have multiple things on the burner. The main two I'm working on is a noir detective style mystery involving the Mothman. Oh Lord. Well, you just found an audience with my wife. Mothman is not only her jam in general, but it is also a piece of culturally significant iconography from her home state. And when I'm not trying to finish that, I'm working on a collection of Halloween-themed short stories that I hope to compile into one book and publish. Ooh, anthology, good stuff, yes. That is encouraging to hear. I feel like anthology stuff is... I could be completely off base, but to some minimal degree, I feel like it's a little bit of a lost art. And again, I could be off base. Maybe I'm just ignorant, but a lot of people don't do anthology or short form kind of collection stuff as much as I wish they would, because I think they're just kind of scared of it. Like they feel that if you don't do a big long form story that people aren't going to want to engage with it. But I mean, he's not my favorite human being on the planet necessarily, but all praise has to be given where praise is due. But yeah, Stephen King made a killing doing really interesting and just solid short story content. I mean, some of his best movies have been out of the short stories. And in general, I just think they're fun, like short stories and anthologies, and especially horror and fantasy, sci-fi-ish in that ballpark. Honestly, it's a good digestible way to kind of get the stories out there and get them done. Because like I said, Enemy Mine was a short story. I don't think it ran more than... Oh, gosh, what was the original? I don't think the original one even reached 100 pages. I could be completely wrong about that. I don't remember, but it was definitely a novella. It wasn't a full novel. Sometimes that's just that's understanding the assignment. Like we were saying earlier about Monarch, I think Monarch would have worked better if it was considerably shorter and they had to shore up the narratives and cut out a bunch of the soap opera nonsense and just make it a little tighter, a little bit better. But same thing, they applied it to a format it didn't belong to, or that didn't work as well. And honestly, yeah, sometimes I feel that's just kind of true of published material too. Like, no, it's got to be like 300 pages. Like, does it though? Maybe this would work better as a short. So, props. I hope I take great. I find it essential, I suppose I'll say, to just continue to encourage the creative spirit, especially in these trying times where people have a bad habit, including people I know, and just being like, it's so much time, it's so much work, just pump something out, AI generate it, do whatever, it'll be fine. I'm like, no, tap into your inner resources, into those deeper creative places. That's where the best material comes from. The real creative wants to create for his own satisfaction, and just offering the audience a chance to see what he made and maybe have the same understanding and the same satisfaction that he did. Just making something to make something, just to generate something that doesn't create the same effect. I'm in agreement. I love anthologies, and we just don't get them anymore. Kinda. They did have Black Mirror and Secret Level, Love and Death and Robots. I haven't seen any of those, but I do know that I had coworkers who were very big into Love, Death and Robots. I know Black Mirror is really popular. So thankfully I know it's not dead. And I hope that remains true. Because good storytelling and a good format for good storytelling, I feel, is timeless. But sometimes it does get a little buried. I suppose in a way it kind of comes down to the phenomenon we're sort of struggling with right now, which is people kind of being stuck in a loop of just short form content, which is why I thank and I value any of you who came by and stayed for more than like 10 minutes, because it's difficult when the brain gets trained by social media or elsewhere to just kind of float along and not commit, to just not stick to something for very long. And that's, I mean, to a degree, that's why theaters are struggling as much as they are right now. There's other factors involved with that, but it's just there's money and there's costs and there's the quality of certain things getting made, but overall, just a lot of people kind of come in, they float, and they go away again. They don't commit to the experience, to the longer form experience, and really investing in good writing and more traditional media. So anybody at this point who is brave enough and dedicated enough to want to refine and make their own work, all praises and all considerations are given, because it's just very easy to get lost in the discouragement of where things are kind of at. You can get a guy who can auto-generate 15, sometimes more, novels in a month and throw them up on Amazon just to make some passive money, whereas you can work on a book for months or years, really trying to make it something special, and you're fighting the rest of the pile for attention and just trying to get yourself out there, and it's rough out there. So all of my absolute best and encouragement in that regard. Do not give up, because we need you. We need the writers, we need the creatives, we need the artists, we need the designers. We need them all, man. Creativity is an essential, necessary cog in the human experience, and for our soul's benefit, if nothing else. Just, my gosh, a lot of these last 6 years of just ups and downs with health and death and near death and worry about just a lot of things going on in life. If I didn't have the artistic and writing outlets just for my own soul's benefit, if nothing else, I'm not saying I would have done anything drastic, but I don't think I'd be anywhere near as enthusiastic an individual. Let's just put it that way. I think the old soul weariness and depression would have been a lot more intense without the creative outlets. I know they would have been. There's no ifs about that. It definitely would have been. Alright, I'm going to pull back a little bit here and see how we're doing with our scene of violent death. I know this isn't exactly the Nickelodeon image of the Ninja Turtles that they want to push these days. But, well, it was the Mirage Turtles, and it was the 80s before the cartoon forever changed their image. And look, I love all versions of the boys in green. Don't get me wrong. I love them all. Well, for the most part, I very much enjoy the many different interpretations of the Turtles. But there is definitely a degree to which part of me yearns to see the more adult-oriented, more genuine ninja assassin aspect of the boys sort of make a return. Certainly in cinema, but I don't think that's going to happen. So, fan art will do what fan art will do. Cha-cha-cha. Alright. But, yeah, just sometimes when you're kind of forced to take a little bit of a break, it is nice to have the excuse to dig back into things that maybe life got in the way of a bit. And I am happy that I was able to get a little bit more reading done, and a little bit writing and reading done. Actually, speaking of Turtles, after several years of just collecting Turtle books, I actually finally felt like I had enough of the IDW library collected again that I could start reading it in earnest, because I actually never got through the IDW series. So, looking forward to that. I'm also reading, it had to be fan translated because an English version of it doesn't exist, but I started reading one of the prequel Godzilla novels for the anime trilogy on Netflix. It was called Monster Apocalypse, and honestly, the book is kind of what I wish the anime trilogy had been, just showing the rise of the monsters and the ultimate destruction of humanity through the 21st century. It's an odd read, but it's a very interesting one. And even some of the monsters I would never have expected to be included in that universe have shown up, including Gabra, which is kind of hilarious. I think it's crazy that people will just generate a story and sell it. It feels very dishonest. I can extend an olive branch of using AI to help with spelling or grammar, but to just put zero effort into making the story yourself is not what art is. Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Because the point of art is it's a tool of expression. It's capturing either something that exists or something that cannot exist, and trying to make it manifest in a way for people to appreciate. And I know people be like, "Oh, but I told it to generate this thing that I described. That's from my imagination." Like, yes, but the physical aspect of it, the craft of it, learning how to do it, that's an essential part of the experience, because you don't feel the same. You don't feel the same way, the same satisfaction, the same sense of awe along the journey until you've trained yourself or made a test of it to see, can I create something? Can I capture this idea or this likeness, this thing, in a way that I can then share it with others? That's just, it seems so obvious to those of us that have always had it, that have always understood it and always lived with it, but my just amazement over the last few years has just been discovering that people don't actually really understand that. They just think, oh, art is the final product and that's all art is. It's just the thing. Like, no, it's the created thing, but it's also what made the thing. And it's very sad to me that that misunderstanding exists. And even people I like on social media or in streaming and YouTube and other circles, even they don't understand that. Because there's even creators who I like who just dismiss artists and just say, you're a bunch of all entitled crybabies, and you don't understand that me telling Grok to make a beautiful Renaissance style image of a woman and a child doesn't hold the same meaning as somebody learning how to create that image themselves and have it be an extension of yourself. That the act of creation in and of itself is a vital part of the process. Hey, Richie! Mr. Smith, welcome to the party. I was lured into another one of my my tiring rants about the state of AI artwork. I'm kidding, War. I try to be very judicious in how much I do rant about AI art stuff, because I know I do it a lot, and I know that I can probably be pretty tiring about it. But no, I completely agree, and it is why I'll always continue to do what I do. And if someday the good Lord should ever be bestowing upon us some wee little stegos, I will definitely be at least encouraging and demonstrating the creative process. Whatever they decide to do with it is their choice, but I would prefer to show what I think is genuine art. But anyway, it's ultimately, I'm just very grateful that the medical stuff has not gotten so harshly in the way that I can't do anything, because that just would have been a bummer. And I think, honestly, with a little bit of additional shading, we can call it good on our boy Raphael here. And just to reiterate, just for anybody who wasn't around the last time when I was starting this guy, the reason for the purple, because I'm sure it's kind of like why is Raph in purple? What is this getup? There was a Turtles show back in 1997, which is rather infamous for how much people hate it, and I understand. I understand the hate. I don't fully agree with the hate, but I do understand the hate. But it was called, called The Next Mutation. And like all Ninja Turtles stuff, it had a toy line. And one of the sublines in the toy line that never actually got released was a figure called Shadow Ninja Raph, where they put him all in this particular outfit in purple. And I just thought, you know what, the name and the general vibe of the costume is pretty cool. I just kind of want to exploit it for a picture. Check out the Techno Bowl image, and the documentary is soon to come out. Oh, okay, interesting. No, you're good, man. I'm just not retro gaming. What's forgive my ignorance. I'm not familiar with. Oh, Techno Bowl League. Tecmo Bowl League. Okay. My boy is famous. But just the show was pretty bad. I can admit that. I mean, it was a Ninja Turtles show made by Saban, which they definitely made some questionable choices. However, I still actually unironically do enjoy the show. And the girl turtle was not the problem with that show. I will defend her very, very strongly. She was not the problem with that show. It was the absolutely sophomoric and ridiculously stupid writing. on that show. Just the turtles all acted like Neanderthal doofuses, and the villains were insultingly juvenile. So that really is what made it a terrible show. But 1980 Nintendo. Okay. Oh, you're talking about the old days. I mean, like, really old days. I have memories of a youthful time and seeing my older brother's Atari sitting around the house, which I think was in bad enough shape at that point that it did not really function. I just thought the console itself looked fascinating with the kind of the wood aesthetic and the joystick and on the little panel and everything else that kind of made up the look of it. But I was definitely more of an NES Dino Boy. I have been doing gaming tournaments, and the video game Tecmo Bowl is what we used to play, and my gaming friends put the league together, and I'm featuring... Ooh! Okay! Now I get what you mean. Your boy is famous. Okay, got it. Wow. Do you know how much screen time that you have obtained in this documentary? Because that's actually pretty rad. Retro... Yeah, retro is the term for old. Well, yeah. I just wasn't sure what you meant by the bowl league, but yeah, that covers it. I like all the old games and things. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I still have... I don't have an NES anymore, but I do still have an SNES and a few games for that. It'd be nice to break into those again sometime. Yeah, how much... Sorry if I missed it. Where is this documentary going to be seen? Because that would be pretty rad to catch you on that. Cameos and maybe a few lines. Okay. That is rad. Very cool. You love to hear it. Good job, Rich. Just don't turn into that one guy. I can't remember his name. The one who apparently cheated on all the Donkey Kong games. Just stick to the true and narrow, and you will be a well-respected retro gamer. I'll say it was Billy something. I don't keep up on as much of that as possible, but once in a while I do get recommended some random YouTube drama documentary, and I remember getting exposed to that little thing. Billy Mitchell? I want to say Billy Mitchell. Like, long hair, kind of wore insanely patriotic clothing. It's a really cool story when I have more time to tell. Nice. On most, if all, streaming platforms. Okay. So I would assume that would mean YouTube. Netflix would be nice. That'd be an easy way to get it. Yeah, that'd be cool. Congratulations, my man. I did not realize that you were dignifying yourself in such a fun area. Is it a real person? Because I was thinking of Peter Dinklage character from Pixels. Ha! No, but I think Billy Mitchell might have made a cameo in Pixels, actually. I don't remember. But it was just some story I was kind of casually following for a while when I was still working 2 jobs, because I'd want something to listen to, so I'd put on YouTube, and some creators, for the fun of it, would just have these stories about random weird drama, and I just remember one of them was about the whole Billy Mitchell thing. Unfortunately, I think the main guy that blew the whistle on him actually also turned out to be a bit of a piece of garbage too, But yeah, there was just this whole big thing about he had claimed and like gotten a Guinness World Record recognition for like being the best Donkey Kong cabinet player in history, and supposedly they came out and proved that he had cheated his way to it, that the cabinet was rigged in his favor, something like that. I might need to be careful because apparently the guy is pretty litigious with his lawsuits. But yeah, just brought it to mind. Sorry to distract from your genuine awesome achievement there, Richie. But yeah, just sad to say because yeah, eventually all the classics are going to end up getting stuck to emulators unless we can keep repairing all the consoles and the cartridges and everything else till the end of time. But either way, it is a very cool interest and very cool thing to do. There are 2 versions of Donkey Kong the Arcade, so your record has to be legit. Okay. Makes sense. I mean, obviously as well with a lot of cabinets, I would expect that over the years they'd have to be careful about making sure that the cabinets are in correct order and they're not tampered with too much and whatever the case may be, because I think that might have been part of the question involved with all that drama was just, yeah. No, it's all good, bruh. Yeah, I don't want to steal your thunder, because honestly that is a very, very cool thing. I've been in one little silly mini documentary to my knowledge from years and years ago. Somebody at Godzilla Fest made a little documentary about the convention, so probably seen by about all of 200 people. And that's okay. Name for the doc, or is it the YouTube page? Just trying to figure out where to find it. Yeah, is that the name of the proper documentary, dude? Because we will need the knowledge when the time comes when we can actually check it out properly. Alright, I'm going to call it good on Shadow Ninja Raphael and his pile of Foot Ninja corpses. I think we've done just about all we can do here without me overdoing it and potentially ruining the piece, because I have a bad habit of doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and save her up here. And then we can move on to the next. That's technobowlleague.com. Alright, perfect. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Now all of the retro gamer crowd who happens to also enjoy long, tedious kaiju art streams can have something else to look forward to. I kid. Thank you guys. Yeah, happy with my boy. Might have to work on my glass now that I look at it. Thank you, sir. If I'm going to be self-critical, I'm going to say work on the glass panes for next time, but that's something we can do at a future date. Never hinder yourself enough that you don't want to do any artwork, but definitely take whatever amount of self-criticism you need to do to challenge yourself for the next time. I'm just happy to have it done because I realized I dragged that one out way too long. Way too long. Like, I think it took 3 attempts here. I'll share the trailer with you and I can just search for my... Okay. Sounds good, my dude ski. Thank you for sharing the knowledge. Excuse me. Alright. Round 2. Fight. Speaking of classic games. I mentioned earlier how I mentioned earlier that the missus and I don't get out to a ton of movies these days, but I am definitely looking forward to Street Fighter. I'm not like a mega fan or anything of the franchise. I casually enjoy it, but the movie itself just actually looks like it'll be fun. Just good basic old-fashioned cheesy fun, and sometimes that's just really all I'm looking for. Just something old, little old-fashioned, little silly, little fun. Just to give you some good chuckles, some good feels. Especially when it's involved with gaming, like gaming movies, I think by and large, unless they do particularly come from a more serious, darker, grim franchise, deserve to kind of try and focus on the fun. I mean, I wouldn't expect Resident Evil to be cracking Marvel-style one-liners or anything, but I'm just saying it's nice when you can have something that doesn't take itself super seriously. Also a casual Street Fighter fan, but can appreciate that aesthetically it looks like the game, more so than the last movie anyway, which I did like too. Yes. Yep, I have a lot of fondness for the original film, for the absolute cheese fest that it is. Raul Julia is... he is the greatest goat of understanding the assignment that I think we ever had. The man took his job and his life, his work, seriously to a fault, and bless him for it. Rest in peace. But send a message you can look at when you have time. Got it. Thank you. I was wondering what that ping was. I heard it go off on my phone here. But Street Fighter definitely was ready for a little bit of a redo, and I hope it's fun. I hope they nail it, because as cringe as some of it might be, I suppose appropriately enough, considering there's a character named Cringer, I actually did rather enjoy the He-Man movie, the Masters of the Universe film. It is flawed. It is absolutely flawed. There's a few things I would have absolutely changed, but by and large, I actually did enjoy it. So I cannot fault it for that. Let me change the hardness. There we go. Needed to change up the hardness on my airbrush here a little bit. That's better. What is the name of this art picture? Oh, so this is so now that we're done with my Ninja Turtle piece, this is swinging us back into Kaiju. The 1968 Destroy All Monsters part of the Godzilla franchise. This was just a particular scene that I very much enjoyed. The flying monster is Rodan, one of my favorite characters from the entire Toho universe. I love Rodan. He's the bomb. And he had all the monsters get taken over at one point by the alien threat in the film, and so Rodan decided to chase after the good guys in their little rocket ship. So, just a little piece, harkening back to Destroy All Monsters. As this was another one that I meant to do quite a while ago, and just kind of kept pushing it off. Uh-oh. I hear whining cats. I think somebody's getting a little fussy for dinner. Yeah, I think we had talked about the He-Man movie last stream I was in, but I think it was a fun movie. Dips a bit too far into parody. Yep, agreed. Overall, I thought it was fun. Skeletor was the highlight. Agreed. Okay, I knew it was Godzilla, so at least had part of it right. Yep. I mean, I know I can be a little predictable, but I think honestly there's a part of it that's just kind of I know what most of my audience is going to tend to prefer out of an art stream, and for the most part, me as well. So I kind of try to stick to the favorites here, which is general kaiju and turtles and whatnot. But Destroy All Monsters was always one of the highlight films in the franchise, so naturally it was going to get an entry on the card series that this is going to be included in. Which, once upon a time, I had intended to make like several of those a week. That was naive. Because there's one thing that I've kind of like what was mentioned earlier. I think it was War of the Worlds said it, but just when you're a creative, you tend to have a problem with, you come up with one good idea and then you throw that into the juggle mix. Then another idea immediately hits and you start juggling that one with the rest of the juggling balls. And then another one comes up and you're like, well, I can't not develop any of these, or I can't not plan to do these because they're all good ideas and I want to do them and I want to get them done. Problem is, then you start juggling and you realize, well, damn, now I've got 4 balls in the air and it's kind of hard to give one at a time the attention and the focus it deserves when you're juggling 4 balls in the air. So that's kind of where we're at. This was this card series, this little series of images from the Godzilla franchise that was going to be a bunch of cards. Yeah, they tend to get a little pushed aside a lot because I'm working on so many other things. Excuse me a second, I gotta sneeze. Sorry about that. Living in a house with dino kitties tends to make regular breathing an impossibility. Some of you will know. But, yeah. It's just, I get a little concerned when I don't work on the tablet and in the program enough, because I want to get better at coloring and I still have a lot of contention and issues with my own coloring that I want to improve it. So when you don't get as much time for practice as you'd like, then inevitably you get a little less content and a little less satisfied with what you're making. Big shock, I know. I may lay down the base colors on this one and then leave it for the evening and move on to the bookmark I was talking about, just because I realized I forgot to bring down. I have a little figure of the ship, the Moonlight SY3, that I actually use for reference, and I forgot to bring it down with me from my office so that I could double check the colors. I just realized I don't have it, so I don't entirely remember what colors I do need for parts of the ship. So yeah, I may need to just lay down the rest of the base colors and then put a to be continued on this one. Back to Billy for a sec. He supposedly beat or got high score using emulation instead of official hardware, so they wiped his high scores. Okay. Like, I briefly remembered something about them showing the inside of the cabinet and saying that something was also a little fricky with the inside mechanical stuff as well that would have disqualified him. But obviously, old school cabinet gaming is not my passion, It's something I loved back in the day, and I would happily play cabinets again, but it's not something I know a lot about. I am no angry video game nerd. I could not tell you the ins and outs of the interior wiring of original Pac-Man or Galaga. So I leave that area of expertise to the true nerds, where that expertise belongs. I can instead tell you way too many things you don't care about regarding old kaiju flicks, World War II American radio shows, and various other useless information that, while interesting, does not exactly engage in great conversation. Certainly doesn't do much for maintaining an audience on streaming. I just realized I am on the wrong tool. There we go. That's... boom. But yeah. I do want to get back to Godzilla Triumphant. It is my little webcomic I was making. I've shockingly got a ridiculous number of fans on that thing. Like any given page on my DeviantArt account for that comic, just to my shock, manages to hold very insane numbers, which makes me feel all the more guilty about the fact that I keep not prioritizing it. Where you were Luke and blew up the other... What? Dude, do you remember the Atari Star Wars in the arcade, the pixel lines and things, or you were Luke and blew up the Death Star? I do not. I never, like I said earlier, my older brother had an Atari in the house, and I know he had a lot of cartridges, but it never worked while he was living with us. And I don't know if it was just actually the console itself was bad at this point, or if he didn't have the proper connecting cables, or what the deal was anymore. But by the time I was old enough to be interested in gaming and wanted to try it out, it was not really available to me, which is unfortunate, because I would have liked to have ever had a chance to play an Atari and get in on the fun, but it was not to be. I've watched some YouTube videos on the console, was utterly shocked and amazed to find out that even Atari had adult games. Couldn't believe that when I heard it and saw the hilariously low graphic screenshots of said games. But yeah, there were games for the adults on the Atari. Gooner's always going to goon, apparently. I have never actually played an Atari, as much of a dinosaur as I am. I will send you pictures of my arcade one. It took me 6 hours to put together. Okay, you are serious. You're not just a casual, you're a professional. Which I guess explains why you're in a documentary. They do. But, just shockingly, I have never played an Atari. And I've had very minimal experience with certain other consoles. Like, the only time I ever actually played a PlayStation 1 was back in the day when retail stores would have those setups where you could go up to a monitor. I guess they still have them now to a degree, but you could go up to a monitor and just play, trial play a game for a while. And I remember there was a PlayStation 1 era game called Medieval, and I was playing it, and I accidentally had built up a bunch of wintertime static electricity. So when I grabbed the controller at one point, it actually shocked me, and the shock of the current actually affected the game so that my character was stuck on a running loop and just dashing, and I couldn't get it to stop. So not only could I not play, but more than likely no other kids could, until Walmart succeeded in restarting the machine, which made me feel kind of bad. I think it's cool that Atari is still making Atari systems. I don't think it's cool that it's over $300. Looks cool. It's Pac-Man yellow, but still. Alright. Yeah, that shows you what I know. I wasn't even aware that they were still in business or in the same... We're still in production of the console in any regard. Like, I figured that was all just probably some secondary market fan experience where people would just keep them running forever, or kit bash an Atari or what have you. But there you go. The more you know, apparently. That's more reasonable. Yeah, I'll say. $130, yeah. Considerably more reasonable. Alright. There's a community of us 40 to 50-year-olds that like the old games. This much I know to be true. I mean, granted, I'm an ancient reptilian being who just came across such things younger in life, but I have some of my favorite toy reviewer and collector YouTubers are also part of the nostalgia gaming community, and there's one particular one called Ed. He's a Bulgarian dude. Speaks almost perfect English, but his whole big thing is retro toys, and he has a just massive display on his wall of old Atari, NES, Sega, just anything in that late 70s to early 90s ballpark. So it's very... I have a coworker who's also similarly very much into just collecting games and has a lot of old ones. You definitely can tell the ballpark of certain dudes' age when they really zone in on collecting classic games. Because it's not so easy to do, nor is it very cheap to do. So you can tell the casuals from the diehards, as it were, when it comes to that kind of stuff. And as much as I do like the games that I like, and I'm very nostalgic for some older games, that is ultimately why I will never get into that ballpark, really, because I got too many other things I'm passionate about, and I just can't sink the money or the time I would need to really enjoy the experience with gaming, classic gaming. I have a slow-growing collection of retro games. I got a complete inbox. Dino Works for NES. Dino Wars. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. I was about to ask you, what the hell is the Dino Works? So the name is kind of cool. Dino Wars. Yeah, and that very old school thing we had to do where it was, no, we can't spell it Dino Wars the correct way. We gotta make it cool and extreme. Dino Wars with a Z and a Y. Honestly, I kind of love that shit. It's kind of amazing. Also, the 90s especially, for just how everything was extreme. Extreme Ghostbusters, extreme G.I. Joe. You're drinking Surge, and it's extreme! Gotta love Surge. Just everything was nuts in the 90s, and that's kind of why they were awesome. look up Wisconsin or something that had a Mario Brothers duck hunt with a 10 grade worth of what? Wisconsin or something. Mario Brothers duck hunt with a 10 grand worth some money, I assume you mean? Good night. It's not a slip inside. It's got a slip inside that says Nintendo recommends against using a rear projection television with your NES, as image retention on the screen may occur. Yeah, I can't imagine why. Alright. Well, we got the base colors laid on this guy, so I'm going to call that good for the moment, and we will wrap up the day with my Christmas gift bookmark for my bro, because I think that'll be a good enough way to top it off here. But yeah, I love me the crossover between the nerdy fandoms, and why just a lot of stuff is so nerd culture is just so easy to kind of slide around and find fun, friendly, like-minded people, because eventually you tap into some crossover. It's like, even if you're into Japanese stuff or anime or old cartoons or comic books or whatever, then you're also maybe into gaming, and you're into card tabletopping or whatever, and there's always enough crossover that you don't really have to worry about sooner or later, especially with dudes stuff and dudes franchises. Eventually there is enough crossover and wandering around throughout your fandoms that eventually you just nicely can land on some other people of like interest, or at least are cool enough to want to hold a conversation. Nothing groundbreaking, I know, but I don't know. Just something I've always appreciated about guys who just are very much invested in the fun of the things they follow. It's just it's pretty easy to find some common ground. That's kind of all I was looking to say, I guess. Ignore my label comment, but do not use a curling iron. 200. Ooh, okay, bring that down a little bit. But thankfully, since this is going to be printed down to the size of a bookmark, even a reasonably good sized bookmark, I'm not going to worry too much about hyper detailing everything. We're just going to have a nice little texture here, why not? We're going to have a nice, agreeable, well-colored but not overblown little assortment of colors here. Let's see, gauze, cloud, hatch. Let's try light crosshatch. Bring down the opacity. Some blue in here. Yeah. You have those moments where you just want to be Bob Ross and you just want to start experimenting on stuff and then do it in the voice. So you're just like, well, I'm going to see how this blue looks over here behind Donatello. I think that'd be nice. You know, good contrast in the blue-purple spectrum here behind Donnie. Yeah, that seems legit. I was actually shocked. Recently, I watched a little mini documentary about Bob Ross and was genuinely surprised how brief his time was on television. Use your imagination and you get the idea. But like I in more formative years, when I was really getting inspired and wanting to do a lot of learn how to do art and do a lot of artwork, More purple. Tiny little trees. Exactly. Gotta. There'll be a happy little squirrel somewhere here behind Donnie's the right kneecap. But to my shock, the reign of Bob Ross on TV was actually way briefer than I ever thought it was. I thought he'd gone for something like 30 years or just whatever. He felt like one of those people that was just always in the ether and was just always a presence on TV. Turns out he wasn't around for that long. Like, the number of episodes he released before he died was not huge. Like, for some reason I thought it was something more like some long-running Days of Our Lives kind of thing where he'd just been on for decades. That was not the case. Our man had a relatively short run, and then they just kept getting kind of syndicated forever. Future kids will grow up in an all-digital world, will not know what they're missing. It seems silly, but those cases, instruction books with the art that pops with something special, lives on Twitch now. Yeah, because I remember seeing that was part of it. It was just like, yeah, they still rerun his episodes online, and obviously his art supplies and his legacy still is very, very healthy and continues on without any worry of that. But I was just genuinely surprised because I was just like, holy crap, I thought the dude had just been at it for an eternity even by the time I was watching him when I was younger. But no, just he made that big of a splash, and that's pretty awesome. So we continue on, and we create, hoping that somewhere up there the Afroed Quiet Man is appreciative to know he inspired a few. But I have... My brother's not the only one that's getting one of these agreeably cheap little bookmarks for Christmas, because it's getting to that point with my dad that I struggle a lot more now than I ever did trying to decide what to get him. Because I want things to be meaningful, and I want them to be maybe useful, but I also want them to be enjoyable. And none of us ever listen to our parents, if we're in that situation where we act when they say, oh, you don't have to get me anything, that's not necessary, whatnot. Like, anytime your parent says that to you, you know that... I'll switch up here. Hold on. Something a little bit... There we go. But, see you ladies and gentlemen later. We will talk soon. Best of you, call me bro. I think you still have my number. I should. Assuming that phones are not being fricky with me in certain regards. But thank you for dropping in, my man. Thank you. I appreciate you very much. And congratulations on your newfound... limelight. Wow. Just shocking. Not shocking, I guess, but pretty remarkable. So, but what was I gonna say? Oh, my brain. Oh, yeah, I was talking about the bookmarks. So, nobody ever listens, or typically will not, when their parents are like, oh, you don't have to get me anything, because you're not going to be that one guy at Christmas or whatever who's going to just be like, oh, you said not to get you anything, so I didn't. So my challenge has always been trying to figure out what some of the better gifts are that I can get my old man. And what I kind of decided along the way was that... Speaking of video gaming with the soundtrack all of a sudden here. But it's like, what's useful? What's fun? What might he really get a kick out of? Whatever. So I was just like, you know what? I actually will make some bookmarks with my new little machine. I'll make them for my dad. I'll make them for my bro. If not, I'll send it to you. Yeah, since I have friends in the documentary business, there's happen to be lucky brag battle. I mean, valid. There's no reason not to. And honestly, it's pretty cool. Because, yeah, I probably wouldn't have been made aware of that being a thing unless you'd brought it up. So, appreciate it. But, yeah, it was like, I had the means to make the bookmarks. So it's like, okay, well, can I now theme a bunch of them to the interests of the people I care about so that I can just give them as gifts? And as it turns out, yeah, pretty easy thing to do. So while my brother is getting this little homemade Ninja Turtles one, my dad will get his greater passion, which is very old operas. He is a big old fanboy of the old school operas and classic operettas and classic music in general. So, you know, you got the template, now you just fit the template to fit the person. So I already made him a couple of Gilbert and Sullivan bookmarks. I'm sure he will probably forget about them very quickly, because as much as I would like to get him to read more, he's one of those old guys that kind of keeps himself a little too busy. He's one of those I can't sit still, I've got to do things kind of old guys. So don't know if he'll... This is my way of being like, hey, get back into reading. Have some quiet time. You won't regret it. Be still. Sit down with a good book once in a while. You'll thank me. Believe me. But at the very least, it's something he can use if he gets back to the point of slowing down a little bit. Which I don't want him to I don't want it to get to that point where it's like, oh, slow down when I'm crippled and incapable of moving. Because sometimes that's what it takes for some people. Unfortunately, it's like, well, I'm bedridden, so I might as well read. Like, no, you should relax and do all that before you get to the point of being bedridden. Hopefully. So I'm doing my part to try and encourage my family to maybe as I have recently done, maybe just relax, take a little bit more time for yourself to do some reading, just chill, not be stuck in that constant mode of hustle, busy. It's not good for you all the time. No, I'm not being hippie coded or anything. I'm just it's a good universal value. Sometimes you just need to chill a little bit and take life a little slower for a hot minute. All right. And, there's also the meaningfulness factor. I was more happy to get a nice picture of Batman from my niece a long time ago than I would have been if she just gone out and bought me some random Batman comic. That's all. So, especially now that I feel that at least the artwork has gotten to a point where I don't have to feel it's too cringy. Hopefully my brother can enjoy having the personalized work. Yeah. What do we got? Okay. Yeah, I think we should have just enough time. Lay down the base colors on this one as well, and then wrap them up some other time. And if people are still interested in seeing me suffer through the pure nightmare fuel of Subnautica, we can do that next time too. I know there is supposed to be a Subnautica update coming up pretty soon-ish, so I'm excited to jump back into that, but at the moment, all you're really going to see me doing is just grinding and getting not like that. This isn't OF, but you're just going to still have to go through the boring tedium of seeing me grind along to get the gear, and because I think we got the tadpole last time, but anything beyond that, still kind of a work in progress. I just realized my tablet has been a lot more kind to me this stream than it was last time, so for that, I am grateful. Oh, that was way too harsh. There we go. That's better. I'm also still learning these tools. I spent so many years on Manga Artist that readjusting into Clip Studio is still kind of a thing, kind of my reality at the moment. The tools are good. Absolutely, the tools are good, but it's still very different from what I've been used to for so long. Bum 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 ba-dum, da 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 da, Pokemon, da da Pokemon. That reminds me. I did recently get into something I initially very much was excited about. I'm a little bit more frustrated with it at this point because I figured out I was a little bamboozled. But they make music. They make pub music based around the Lord of the Rings. And I really, really enjoyed it. You're doing better than me. I may have done about 5 digital works and gave up. The results were okay, but I just can't get into it. I appreciate that, but I mean, honestly, there's also that part of me that's just like, don't give up, man, because inevitably, just it's that early stage frustration is no matter what. But honestly, I will say, in your defense, there are digital art programs that just are hard to really take off with. And especially for me, having spent so much time with paper and pencil, it gets difficult to do line work on a plastic tablet. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't slide right. It doesn't... it feels like you're kind of fighting it a little bit. And it's just still something I'm trying to learn to navigate, but it's not always easy. It's not always fun. But if it is in your desired wheelhouse, I do hope someday you feel emboldened enough to go back into it and try your hand at it again. But if writing is your call, then writing's your call. There's nothing wrong about that, but I just know personally how inseparable I am from the enjoyment of this process. Believe me, I also do sympathize. I do feel for you. It's the learning curve with art in general, but then also just getting used to this new format. There are people so much younger than me who kick every single centimeter of my ass when it comes to digital line art stuff. And man, is that humbling. Deeply humbling. I was using Fire Alpaca, then tried Krita. Heard Procreate is good, but you can't get that on PC, so just traditional. Okay. I have not tried any of the other three you mentioned. I know. Excuse me. Mrs. Stegman has mentioned Procreate before. I have never tried it, so I couldn't speak to that, to the quality on that. But yeah, there are just those moments when you've worked on within a particular medium for so long that, yeah, I agree. It does become very frustrating trying to transition into another one, which, oh shoot, why did I do that? Which, is why the stereotype is boomer's gonna boom and he's not gonna want to learn something challenging like computers or other forms of technology or whatever. Hey, notanemu? Not an emu? Sorry. Notanemu. Thank you. We're making a bookmark for my older brother. It is one of his Christmas gifts. But no, just my brain. No, it sometimes the adjustment is rough. Sometimes the adjustment is difficult, and for me with art programs, yeah, sometimes it is very difficult. Especially when you're just so accustomed to pressures and types of tools. The irony is at one part though, digital art was cheating, but then I tried for it myself and was like, okay, this is hard. Yeah. Because that's the thing, like with all the discussions we've had about our problems with AI art and how generative stuff just really is not the creation process, a lot of people have tried to make that argument. It's just like, oh, well, digital art is cheating. It's like, well, it is extremely easier to use a lot of digital tools compared to painting tools and other such things. But like for in my case, what you are looking at is paper, pencil, and ink that was then scanned, and I'm just doing the digital coloring because that's my preference. It's the easiest and most efficient way to be able to play with your coloring and experiment and do whatever. So yeah, digital art has absolutely made that process a lot easier. Yeah, image is not a... Yes, thank you. Thank you, Snapshot. It's just... the digital tools are a different ballpark. They absolutely are a different ballpark. And they make a lot of things easier, which, depending on how you want to look at it, are cheaty. Because yeah, I could scrap all this and I could start coloring from the beginning again and nobody would ever be the wiser. So there is that element to it that it is easier. But on the flip, it's still effort. It's cognitive, human, in my case, Dino, effort, sitting down, using your hands, your brain, saying, no, this doesn't look right. No, this doesn't look right. This doesn't work. This needs to be corrected. This needs to be adjusted. Like, it's a whole nother realm of art, And yes, it is easier than the canvas or doing things in very, very traditional methods, but it still takes a hell of a lot of work. And at the end of the day, the criteria that I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, does it allow you to express the human spirit and create something unique and just show off all of that talent that we are blessed to be able to cultivate? Yes, it does. And that's why it's still art. And I'm very grateful for it, because my gosh, would I be screwed if I didn't have digital creation. You're making it yourself, and that's all the difference in the world. Yep. And at the end of the day, my older brother will be able to look at this and be like, oh, yep, that's Rand shit. That's his stuff. And I'll be happy to know that he will have a unique, one-of-a-kind little gift. Can't get it anywhere. Little item that pertains to a shared interest. I actually had a thought with this, that for this image that I would actually do something a little different, and instead of coloring the turtles in with all the appropriate greens and browns and silvers and whatever, I had an artsy-fartsy thought that what I would do would be sort of to emulate this one particular Turtles comic that IDW released called Black, White, and Green, where all of the images were, as the title suggests, grayscales and just differing shades of green, and then I would just do the masks in the respective colors of each turtle. But I thought about it and I was like, well, no, it's for my bro. I should just go something a little bit more traditional and obvious, so it's not, not too weird. But getting back on the digital art thing, I could always do that as an alternative. And maybe I will someday. Maybe I will craft that as a take-two coloring scheme on the bookmark. Because I won't have to redo all the lines again. And in spite of the fact that, as I mentioned, with all this nonsense going on with the nerves and the finger pain and whatever else, again, thank God, most of it's confined to my left hand, where the recent nerve damage and stuff has been going on that I'm going through the therapy for. So I am absolutely, happily throwing myself into Inktober this year. Because I haven't done Inktober, the Inktober Art Challenge, if you're familiar with that, in, I'd say 3 years, I think it was. And for anybody here who doesn't know what Inktober is, it's just an excuse that traditional artists have to challenge themselves every October or whatever to just create and produce one inked art piece every day for that month. And I made a list and I pencil sketched pictures for all 31 days of October, and I'm going to very much enjoy releasing some Inktober material of many, many different things throughout the month of October. Every single day I'll put it on my Instagram and my DeviantArt and my Twitter and whatever else I can remember to throw it up on. But that was really fun, just to brainstorm stuff again for that, because 31 pictures is a lot. Like, you think about it at the outside, like, oh yeah, that'd be fun. But then you actually get to working on it, and suddenly it goes from being, okay, cool, I'll make 31 pictures, to, oh shit, now I have to figure out 31 pictures of different kinds of stuff. And I mean, I think maybe there's like 3 kaiju, 3 or 4 kaiju related ones that I already set out to do for the month. So yeah, you can run with things, some things more than others, but just I wanted them to be a bit diverse and to cover a lot of things that I enjoy, or some things that maybe would be fun to spread the word on a little bit that some people don't know about as much. Do a little advertising for some things I really love and just kind of give them a little bit more exposure. But even so, 31 pictures is still a lot, so just deciding what to do, and then doing all the sketches, and then planning to do all the inking. It's a good little... I can see why they call it a challenge, because every time I do it, I'm just reminded how freaking difficult it is. Inktober, the bane of my existence. Just joking, but my main experience of Inktober is burnout. No, yeah, absolutely. I succeeded in it once, and that was the 2023 round, which I posted them all up on my DeviantArt, so I'm happy to say, so they're all preserved there. But the first year I did it, I want to say was 2022 or 21, and yes, burnout is the word, because you just keep going, and then life gets in the way, and it gets late at night, and you're like, oh, frick, I forgot to make my Inktober entry. I'm too tired. The streak is broken. No! And then you're all upset with yourself, and you give up, and whatever. So, I completely sympathize, and I understand. But that's why I was just like, yeah, this year, dang it, I have a Dino Kitty on my lap, and she's getting in the way a little bit. This is gonna sound wrong, but I have to reach around a little bit to reach the tablet. But yeah, no, that's why I decided this year, especially with the nerve pain being the way it is, I was going to plan ahead. And I think we'll make it this year. I think we will be good. So I'm very excited about that. I know we're still a month and some change away, but honestly, it's fun to just kind of have it to look forward to. The two big things that are kind of on the plate: sticking to the hour-long physical therapy every freaking day, because there are just days you would rather pull your own brains out than to do therapy every single day of the week, and wanting to get Inktober done. Those are my two biggies. Want to get that done this year. Because the one thing that I can't do right now, which is a bummer and actually makes me more upset than anything, is clay crafting. Anybody here who follows my Instagram or my DeviantArt in general, you know that I am very, very big into clay sculpture, custom clay figurines and figures, and customizing figures in clay and all that stuff. That is a big deal. That is one of my favorite forms of expression. It is my jam. I absolutely love making kaiju and turtles and superhero stuff and random creatures and a couple of sexy things out of clay. And it's just one of my most favorite pastime enjoyments. And with this whole thing, with the nervous system pain and just it going down into the index and thumb fingers, that is exactly the place you don't want it to be, because you need both hands to this I am doing right now. This I can do basically one-handed. It's the drawing hand. That's the important part. That's what I need to make it. Not so much on the clay stuff. And that is a bummer. And it legitimately makes me upset, because I was on such a roll this year, man. Like, it was so cool just not only getting a little better, but learning new techniques and just getting some stuff done that I'd always wanted to make, and they came out good, and just able to show those off, and it was exciting. I was so happy about it. And that is on the back burner. So it is what it is, and sometimes the most annoying thing that happens in life is just being forced to pump the brakes and to say, nope, I have to look out for my health, and I am not allowed to do things that mean a lot to me and that I enjoy. And it sucks. But that is one of those... That's one of those things that happens where you heed the wise words of the Italian boxer, and you just say life's kicked you down, and you're not going to let it keep you down. You're not going to let it keep you there, but you got to stay strong, because it is very discouraging. It is very disheartening, especially when you do it for relief and for the joy of it, like art and craft and all that kind of stuff is. So my ultimate advice, if I'm going to have advice to give, and just try to turn any of it into some encouragement, which, at the end of the day, that is a huge point and purpose of this channel, is encouragement and reminding you that you're worth a damn, and that somebody out there gives a damn about what you're going through, and there's going to be struggles. Is just take care of yourself, and don't be afraid to just to take a step back when you need to and take care of yourself, even if it's inconvenient for you or you get pressured by people. Because unfortunately, even though thankfully it's not something I've really had to deal with as much, I know there's a lot of people out there who have to struggle with that reality of being like, hey, my mental isn't so good, and hey, my body's going through this, and somebody tell you, well, suck it up, buttercup. You got too much you need to do for me or for yourself or whatever. Like, I know people who have very tumultuous lives at home, and they are expected to take care of their families to incredible degrees. Like, to degrees that I would argue make them a doormat, because their family is like, hey, you're available, we're going to dump all the responsibility on you to do things, even though we are also available, but screw it, you're available, so you do everything. And when they get to that point and they say, but I care and I want to help, but I also need time for me, and my mental health needs some time to breathe, and stuff is just really hard right now, and whatever, and those same people will come back and just be like, how dare you whine about it? You need to just keep running yourself ragged and do this and that and the other thing. Like I said, thankfully that has not really been my experience, but I know for a lot of people it is. And so this experience, this current layer of extra pain that's going on with my nerve stuff and everything else going on, it sort of reminds me just a little bit of that. Just to be like, hey, it will suck for a little while, and you're not going to like it, and maybe it'll be inconvenient, but you need those moments. You need those moments to recover, to heal, to get better, and to just look forward to getting back to your best place when the time is appropriate to do so. And that's all there is to it. Your heart and your brain are going to argue about it and be like, no, it's not that simple. I got so much I got to do. No, sometimes... Oh, dang it. Ah! My tablet just died. Come on. Gotta plug it back in. But sometimes it really just is that simple. You have to tell your brain, like, no, sorry, but... And more than your brain. Sometimes you gotta just tell people, like, no, I need to reassess. I need to re-energize. Oh, frick. I need to reassess. I need to re-energize. I need to take a breather, especially if you've had recent loss or something of a major injury or just something very traumatic happen. You absolutely need time to recover. And it is not your fault or responsibility that some people are just not, or life just sometimes does not allow you the grace for that recovery time. Sometimes you just really have to put your foot down. And you have to say, no, I need this time. I need what's best for me. And sometimes it's a big deal. Sometimes it's going to require you to upset somebody. It's going to require you maybe to even upset yourself, because you're going to feel like you're being a disappointment, or that you're not, that is not what you want to do. But just take care of yourself, all of you. Just, as much as you can, try to take care of yourself in general as far as your mind and your body anyway, but just when you need a moment, take your moment. Take your time. Don't run yourself ragged and don't run yourself dead. It's not worth it. Leave to... there's a silly little song from the old Return of the King cartoon. It's not a very good cartoon, but leave tomorrow till it comes. Sometimes it's just what's best. Tomorrow can worry about itself sometimes. That's all. That's my soapbox for the day, and I'm going to I'm going to stand on it. I think we might have just enough time to finish laying down the base colors on the turtles, meaning the masks, and then we can call it good. But yeah, just if life has taught me nothing else, just don't be afraid to take a step back and take a breather. Had a day with all the pain a little over a week ago, and with stuff that was going on where I needed to be there for Mrs. Stegman, and I was just like, nope, screw it. I wish I didn't need to, but I'm taking a little time off today from work. We're gonna reassess, get some breathing time, take some time to get the therapy done, just feel a little better. Just sometimes you can feel that tightening tension of screw inside your brain, that ever increasing mental tension and emotional tension, and you're just like, yeah, things are difficult today, things are rough, and if I don't do something about it right now, it's going to be worse tomorrow. And yeah, sometimes we have duties and obligation we just cannot get out of. Sometimes it'd be nice to just take a year off, run for the hills, and recover and do what we need to do, but we're not always given that privilege. And when you can, sometimes you just need to do what's best for you. That's all. It's not profound. It's not earth-shattering advice. It's just sense. It's just stuff. Gonna give Raph a little scar here. He's always the one that's gonna be scarred up. Let me go back into the City Pop here for the end. I know the logical choice might have been some fast-paced shamisen or something like that, but I prefer the energy of a little City Pop to get me to the end of working on Turtle Boys. But yeah, just you're not alone. We're all sticking in this together. And if I want Rand Stegman to be remembered for anything else, I just want to be remembered as the doof A little dinosaur doof that encouraged the creation of some good old traditional artwork and legitimate, real human effort artwork. And just wanted you to remember that life's a little tough, life's a little unfair, but you're not in it alone. We are in this together, and we're gonna come out on at the end of the race course together as well, and we'll be okay. Whoops! I want to reduce the brush size on that. There we go. Oops, can't see Mikey. There's Mikey. But we've already got enough reasons to feel discouraged and burned out. We don't need to make things worse. So, when you need a moment, just take some time for you and do the things you love. Did my brush? I think it changed my brush on me. I think when the tablet disconnected, it changed the brush type I was using. Okay, yeah, something's going screwy here. Uh-oh, I hear a Dino Kitty. I think they're going to be very happy when I log off here, because anybody who has cats or Dino Kitties knows what sticklers they are for schedules. And we are getting to that time. Getting to that time of day for the old feeding frenzy time. So yeah, I'm gonna have to call it quits here pretty soon. We will get done with the masks and the base colors. That won't take very long. I cannot leave it at least without having the base colors done. That would be annoying. I wouldn't be able to stop thinking about it in some sort of a tism rage until the next time we got together. Understandable. Thank you. Whether that's for me or for the cats, thank you. But yeah, I'm not just gonna leave it slightly unfinished. You gotta have a goal, and the goal is masks and bases, and we're almost there. So, yeah, I think that actually does it for Leo as well. Knee pad. Gotta do the knee pad. Leo likes his knee pads. But just in general, my artwork has been sorely missed. Not by the general public, but for me, I have sorely missed just being at it, because in a lot of ways, like, it's chill time, and not only just like these little art pieces for stream, but I have realized that I severely miss my girl Sako Fujita. For anybody here, and I do not blame you if you're not aware of it. I spent the better part of about 6 years, just mainly during the pandemic, working on a webcomic about an anthropomorphic stegosaur girl, and it was a lot of fun. And I mean, golly gee, I can't imagine why that was my subject matter. But it was basically a reverse Beauty and the Beast, where girl got turned into a stegosaur person, had a boyfriend, had to overcome the silly difficulties of what it would mean to be transformed into a dinosaur, a living dinosaur. And I spent 6 years on that thing, and it was a lot of fun. And then I got to the point where I was like, all right, I have gone as far with it as I can. Time to move on to other things, which is why I've been working on the other book and having a lot of fun getting back into that other book. And then the problem happened. I realized that I missed my girl. I miss her. I miss drawing her. I miss drawing her facial expressions. I miss drawing up and story mapping all the silly little scenarios and all the stuff that she was up to. I miss it, damn it. But I can't just, as I said earlier, I cannot just throw another ball into the juggling act. I got too much on the plate. There's too many things. I want to be a responsible Stego boy, and I want to focus in. I want to lock in. I want to get other things done. So that is what we are going to do. But man, I miss her sometimes. So maybe someday I'll need an excuse to get back to her and maybe do a different story. Do one of those things like they used to do in anime, where after one series is done, they would just actually completely start over and just have a completely different scenario, what-if universe, where it's like, here's all the same characters that you liked, only now they're in a completely different scenario. This isn't the same situation that you knew them from. Characters make different decisions. Just thinking about it, realized, that might actually be fun. Just do a what-if and just do a 2.0 and redo all the characters. That might actually be a lot of fun. Making time for your personal creations is important. I agree. Absolutely freaking agree. Because to whatever degree that you do it, whatever form your creativity takes, you gotta make time for just the natural yearning of the spirit to express. Tolkien said it best. We just have this innate desire to engage in the act of the sub-creation. Like, we do not create anything physical in this universe. We cannot make matter. We cannot create the things that we work with. But we can take them, and we can adjust them, and we can make something unique out of them. And we just have this innate desire to create things and stories and stuff to varying degrees of for varying reasons, and varying reasons we do so, quality of effort, whatever. But we have that desire, and it's good that we do. A couple of nerds back in the 1980s got drunk and drew a couple of goofy looking turtles on a napkin. Here we are with the bookmark I'm making. Dude and his friends in the 1950s decided to make a cautionary tale about nuclear warfare in the aftermath of wartime Japan. My favorite franchise was born. My older brother made wonderful comic book based artwork that a younger me looked at and went, "Whoa!" And here we are. I'm trying in vain to live up to the standard that he set, that impressed upon me as a smooth-brained little Stego boy. So, yeah, let's save this. Or I'll save it in a minute. But regardless, just in time. I scheduled it for 3 hours. Got one done. I can be content with that. We got the base colors laid on a couple more things. That is progress. I am happy with it. And you know what? That's all you need. Whatever you're doing, set goals, make some good milestones, just make some progress. For God's sake, make some progress. And you'll be happier at the end of the day. Just little goals are good things. Again, not groundbreaking stuff, but if you need to hear it, then I'm happy to regurgitate. That's all. So, absolutely thank you for the new subscription. That just warms the exhausted corners of my heart. And thank you guys for joining in. It definitely means a lot. I appreciate you. if you don't mind me sharing, one of the other things I have written down in this is one back burner called Raptor 5. Group of 5 specialists with a velociraptor going on various adventure does the same random change. Sorry, just bumped it up. Random change you mentioned. One book steampunk, one book is World War II style, one they were in a rock band. Yeah, exactly. Fun hanging out and chatting. No, seriously. Exactly though. Like, we don't make anything. We take what we know, we take what we love, we reshape it, and we combine it, and we make something good out of it. You know, something that expresses what we are fond of. And out there in the world, you will find somebody else who shares that same joy and same passion, or didn't realize that the thing you just made absolutely is the thing they didn't realize they needed. So it's absolutely necessary, it's absolutely essential. I will stand by it. And as always, before I sign off, it is a thrill to try and make people laugh and just maybe share a little something special. Because no matter what your heartache might have been, while you're laughing for a few seconds, you've forgotten about that pain. And I personally believe we're all put here for a purpose, to build and not to destroy. And if someday you are not feeling well and you remember some silly little thing I've said or done and it brings a smile to your face or a chuckle to your heart, then my purpose as your clown has been fulfilled. And I'm very happy to have served as such. So, as for everybody, you have an awesome, edifying, productive, satisfying, and meaningful rest of your day, evening, morning, whatever it was. Thank you for being here, and I will check you next time. Thank you for joining.